Now Codingmaster really liked the infinite black background video tutorial, but he wasn't quite sure whether he could pull it off having only a smartphone at his service. It is true that smartphone cameras come with disadvantages compared to bigger cameras with much larger sensors. Compared, they usually have terrible low light performance and limited dynamic range. But if you're going for the infinite black or the infinite white, these disadvantages turn into advantages. Because if you do want to shoot against an infinite black background, you actually benefit from terrible low light performance because you do want the blacks to drop fast. And if you do want to shoot against an infinite white background, you actually benefit from limited dynamic range because you do want the highlights to clip easy. So Codingmaster, thanks a lot for the idea to this video. This is how you get the infinite black and the infinite white on a smartphone. Now let's start with the infinite black background. All you're gonna need in addition to your smartphone is a black backdrop and a strong light source to light your face. As far as the black backdrop is concerned, I'm using a very high quality molten fabric that is thick, pitch black and doesn't let any light through. But by no means do you have to do the same. A very dark fabric will do just as fine. Also, it doesn't really matter if it lets some light through because the goal is to exclude any external light source from the room you're shooting in anyway, making it as dark as possible. Once you've done that, the only thing you're gonna have to figure out is how to get the black backdrop up. Now the background system I'm using is actually just comprised of two of the cheapest tripods money can buy. Both are connected with a plastic beam that is just as cheap. So don't spend a lot of money on that, it's not worth it. Also, don't waste your time trying to smoothen out the fabric. It really doesn't matter how much dirt is on there, how wrinkly it is, or how many waves it forms. The other thing you're gonna need is a strong, good light source to light your face. Because the trick that makes the infinite black background work is simply this. You're gonna expose your face to as much light as possible while standing in front of a black backdrop. The camera, in its attempt to expose your face correctly, will drop all the shadows and all the blacks and do all the work for you, getting you the infinite black backdrop. You don't even have to dive into the manual settings. It'll work just fine in auto mode. So all I'm doing here is hitting up the camera app on my S7 Edge, switching to auto mode and hitting record. Now I'll simply kill all the lights I'm not using, just turning on the one I use to light my face. And that's it. This is how easy it is to get the infinite black background on your smartphone. Actually, and I just found out about this upon reviewing the footage just now, this setup works so well that you can even have the lights turned on and it'll still give you the perfect infinite black background. So should I ever need a quick, perfect infinite black background in the future, I will use nothing but the phone from now on. Now the infinite white background is a little more complicated than the infinite black background. You do need more light and it will take you longer to set up the backdrop because this time key is to make it as wrinkle free and flat as possible. I'm still using the same cheap, crappy background setup, but I'm using clamps to put the fabric in place. I am also using the tripod clamps to hold the fabric in place. So in my mind, you need at least 3 lights to make this look nice. Lights number 1 and 2 are there to illuminate the background. They should not hit yourself, because this can lead to clipping highlights on yourself. And what you're looking for when you're in front of an infinitely white background is clear contours of yourself. So make sure these lights only hit the background. Then light number 3 is there to light yourself. Now you don't have to use a ring light, but I find the kind of lighting you're getting from a ring light really fits the overall look of the infinitely white background. You could also use a light like this and just bring it in from behind and above the camera at a steeper angle. We have to use manual mode to get the exposure right. Now there's 3 important things to do once you're in manual mode. Number 1 is lowering the shutter speed to the lowest possible value. Since I'm shooting 30 frames per second, I'm dropping it to 1/30th of a second. Anything that gets us more light is well appreciated. Next thing I'm doing, I also drop the ISO to the lowest amount possible. Then hit record. Why? Because as soon as you hit record, almost every smartphone I've ever used will crop down from a 4:3 or 3:2 or whatever it is that it shoots photos in to a 16:9. So essentially you're gonna lose some space on top and bottom. And the less space you have to light infinitely white, the better. You'll agree once you try this. Then I get the camera positioned in front of the white background and start moving lights number 1 and 2 around to get the best possible result without touching the ISO.
Darling, you send me. Darling, you send me. Darling, you send me. Darling, you send me. You send me.
Now of course, I've done this dozens of times, so don't get discouraged if it takes you longer than that. You'll figure it out. Really try to get the infinitely white background with moving lights number 1 and 2 around only. If it's impossible, then go and slightly raise the ISO. It should be a last resort. Now the setup right here should be fine. Lights number 1 and 2 are not hitting myself, they only hit the background, so I should have a nice clearly visible contour against this infinitely white background. So I'll simply turn on light number 3 now, and from experience I can pretty much tell when it should be right. But again, always check to make sure. So if you liked the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up, it'd be greatly appreciated. Any kind of comment or feedback is welcome, and I'll try to answer as soon as possible. Sometimes it might take me a day to answer, or even a little longer, but usually I'm on that YouTube every night trying to answer at least some of your comments. So thank you for your great feedback, and hopefully see you again soon.